Hi, ladies and gentlemen. I am Morris Merriweather, the host of Straight Talk in Room 503 and the author of Enough is Enough. Public education has spiraled out of control. Ladies and gentlemen, this should be an interesting class session. And we're asking you at this time, call a friend, tell a friend, text a friend, tell them that Professor Merriweather is headed back to the class of Straight Talk. Ladies and gentlemen, there are a lot of things that have occurred since our last time we was in class. And if you would allow me, I'm going to do a lot of different things. And the key thing that I want to be able to convey to you is about how important it is that we stand up and fight for public education. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to mention some current events and talk about some things that are going on, and then we're going to end the class and allow you to go home for the weekend. Looks like we're going to have another beautiful weekend. I thought we would have this class again outside. I want to, before going too far, that I want you to jot down the topic for this week's session. The topic is that turn the page. It is time that we turn the page. Ladies and gentlemen, you will never see the next chapter unless you're willing to turn the page. And I think that is what has happened in public education. We're on the same page, and we're allowing the good old boys to keep us on the same chapter. And we're never going to see the next chapter unless we're willing as a people to change, to turn the page. Our children are worth it. There is no doubt in my mind. The children are worth us changing and turning the page that we can see the next chapter in public education. For if it had not been for people's concern about us, and they was willing to turn the page to the next chapter, we never would have got to where we are right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to start with a blunt joke. Don't mean anything about it. Just something to kick off the show. You may not even find it funny. I kind of heard about it and thought, I think that's kind of cute. But a police officer stopped a blonde on the highway, and he said to her, "Ma'am, you need to identify yourself." She opened her purse and pulled out a mirror, and she looked in the mirror and said, "Yes, officer, that's me." So, ladies and gentlemen, this week there was a story about LeBron James of the Cavaliers. You know LeBron James. And someone had vandalized the gate at his home. Certainly doesn't have a fence at his home. He has a gate. And had painted the N word on his gate to his estate. And LeBron James came on the air and was saying some things that no matter how much money you make, no matter how famous you are, that does not stop people from hating on you. But ladies and gentlemen, I beg to take a second look at what happened with LeBron James. We live in America, a sick America. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to this, and if I'm wrong, you can text me, you can call me, you can see me and let me know if I'm made a statement that is wrong. I have no problem with anybody disagreeing with me. But ladies and gentlemen, nowhere in my history can I remember that an athlete, a white America, being they are actor or whatever they are, that someone vandalized their property and wrote on there racial slurs like they did with LeBron James and used the N word. They never use anything and say cracker, peckerwood, or some of the slurs that was used for whites. Never have they done so. Only blacks. They never have put racial slurs about Indians, Hispanics, Puerto Ricans, but Black America. So that goes to show you, ladies and gentlemen, that no matter, and I'm talking basically to some of my black students in class now, no matter how far you go in life, how much money that you make, who's your mother and daddy, you're always going to be black. No matter who you marry, whether you marry Caucasian, Puerto Rican, Hispanic, Italian, you're never going to be nothing but black. You're never going to get away from it. So to those who are trying to get away from being black, that's a shame, because God made you for a purpose. And I was born black. Thank God I'm a free black. And I'm going to die black. And I am appreciative to what God has made me, a man, a free man, a black man. And when I came into the world, I was predestined. And no one can change what God has for you in life, no matter whether you go to public education or whether you're in private school or charter school. God will bless you and have blessed you to be whatever. He's given you everything you need. I did not need anything in life to be where I am now, or to do what I want to do in life, because the day I was born, think about it, ladies and gentlemen, God equipped you with everything you need. So the good old boys, the haters, nobody can stop you from reaching your destination in life but you. And that is what has happened in public education. We have allowed certain people to pre-plan where we ought to be and what we need to do. While on that subject, in my hometown this past week, we just had our NAACP. That's the National Advancement for Colored People. In my hometown, the Freedom Farm Banquet, we had a Republican who was co-hosting the event that has not included us as an item on his agenda in the state legislature. An award was given to a friend or an associate of mine for race relation, because he is one of the white members of our local NAACP. And there are so many people in our community, people of color, that has done a lot to bring together the races and have worked at trying to improve race relation. But the award went to an associate of mine, because he know how to pat us on the back and make us feel good and talk to us. And so they decided to give him an award. Not a hater, my friend, and I particularly like you. You're a good guy. But ladies and gentlemen, intelligent people ought to have criteria for giving people an award. Just because you went to grammar school and grade school, got a little education, doesn't make you an intelligent person. You got to have some common sense. So, ladies and gentlemen, the reason certain people don't respect our race, because we do some very dumb things. And so it hubbles around leadership. That is what's hurting our community so much. When it's our community, I'm speaking about the black community, because we are in dire need of leadership, and I don't see us grooming future leaders. We're too busy talking about our future. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a sad day. It is a very sad day. You know, we allow the good old boys and people that do not look like me. I did tell you that This is straight talk and the message truth, so I'm going to continue to give it to you that way. This week in Friendship, Tennessee, which is in Crockett County, about 28 miles from my hometown, the former police chief and his son was arrested for selling drugs. Not only were they selling drugs, they was delivering drugs, hydrocodone, selling Schedule 2 and Schedule 4 controlled substance. Where? In a school zone, of all places. And ladies and gentlemen, we allow certain people to talk about our children. That's all they do. They fight. They use drugs and have babies. But ladies and gentlemen, we say nothing and we allow people that are not people of color to brainwash us in believing that we're the only one that are doing certain crimes. But when someone of other color are doing things, we don't say it, we keep our mouths closed. But here is a police chief who's supposed to protect and uphold the law, selling hydrocodone, Schedule 2 and Schedule 4 substance. And his son is included in this. Now, he won't go to the same institution and be in the same cell where Pee Wee and Pookie go. He'll have a different place that he can go. We make a difference. Crime is just crime. I wish that we had more Professor Merriweathers that would stand up like Professor Merriweather and Professor Baxter are standing up in this community, while our other so-called leaders are playing golf on the field, on the court, excuse me, I'm not into sport, out on the court with the mayor of the city. And then we call ourselves intelligent. We're so busy kissing butt, grinning and laughing with people that has us not on their agenda. We're not on their radar. And we think it's something to play golf like our civil right actor in my community, playing golf with the mirror, and think that that is something. You will never see me grinning and hee-hawing out there. That Merriweather is crazy. Well, yeah, I'm crazy. Crazy enough to stay away from you because I would not allow any man, I'm a free man, to think for me. I have 5 senses, excuse me, not 5 brains, 5 senses, 1 brain, 5 senses, that I can think for myself. But when our so-called leaders will quit allowing their leaders to think for us and we not call them out, that's what's happening and hurting our community. It's time we call our people of color out for kissing butt and doing nothing to help our children while they make sure that their children gets a quality education. Ladies and gentlemen, something is wrong with that picture. We allow certain people of the community across this country, in your hometown, because the same thing is going on in your hometown, to talk about our children, to not allow them to get a quality education. Ladies and gentlemen, they woke up one day and figured out that the money follows the child. No matter what school that a child go to, that money that is provided by the state and by our federal government follows the child. Whether it's in private school, public school, charter school, the money follows the child. Those beautiful private schools are not only built from donations and grants and contribution from rich people, they're also coming from you and I. Our tax dollars are going. Listen, this thing is serious. Our so-called friends who have their children in private school, you talk about Professor Merriweather may have lost his mind. Look at this. When they put their children into private school, they pay big dollars for them to go to private school. In addition to that, their taxes dollars are going also to private schools, which is not being properly used. But ladies and gentlemen, we allow this stuff to happen. Our tax dollars are being spent employing them, like our superintendent hired 110 Caucasian teachers and hired only 10 black teachers in a predominantly black school system, and not one faith-based community person except Reverend James Baxter and Morris Merriweather in my hometown had the boldness and the courage to stand up and speak. The rest of them are still grinning and scratching and itching where there's no itch. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a sad day. I'm just asking you to join the fight. There's nothing wrong with fighting for something, but to sit down and fight for nothing ought to be a crime. But ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you about Professor Merriweather. As long as I have breath in my body, I would not allow our so-called leaders, our so-called friends, to criticize and ostracize our children. Now they have set aside our children. They quit. They're not having quit, but they're criticizing, they're ostracizing, and now they set aside our children while they set their children up for quality education. And you sit there in your little homes and your communities with your little so-called expensive clothes and little jewelry and a couple dollars in the bank and doesn't say anything because you're too busy electing the wrong leaders. And then when we have people of color who run, we won't come out and vote. That's called ignorance, ladies and gentlemen. That's called ignorance. Get it out of the class of straight talk. Get it straight from me. That's ignorant for us to be that way. They're counting on us to not to vote. They counting on us to stay divided. They counting on us to not stand up for our children. They're counting on us. Well, one thing about it, you can ask the good old boy. They're not counting on Professor Merriweather because they said he done woke up and we got to silence him because he's getting into our profit. Public education is in the dark period of our life. God works the night shift. Ladies and gentlemen, the night shift is when my Father and Lord does his best. So I know that it's a dark time in public education. And I'm asking you to pray and allow God to work it out. He's on the night shift. He works things out in the dark. At the darkest moment in our lives, that's when my Jesus is working. But we as a people are sleeping too much. We need to wake up and get involved in what's going on with our children. Yes, as the old song that when I was coming on called The Pusher Man. Yes, I'm a pusher. I'm a pusher for Jesus, and I'm a pusher for enough is enough. Public education has spiraled out of control, and I would like to have your support. But the day I beg you for your support will never come. You ought to have enough sense. You got some education. You ought to wake up and look around you and see that we're not faring well in our community. I'm going to deal with that in a few minutes. But ladies and gentlemen, we spend too much time playing on Facebook when we ought to be facing the problems of public education in our communities. That's some of the problem. This week in my hometown, we have our first CEO and president of West Tennessee Healthcare. Those of you who are in class and may not know about West Tennessee, it is the largest provider of public health in our community and the largest employer in my hometown. Never in the history of the West Tennessee Healthcare have they had someone at the helm of color. But this year, out of 300 and some applicants, application that was where they applied for the job, I'll get it right, a little tongue twisted with that one. They ended up picking this brother, this African American, to me, black brother in my hometown. But ladies and gentlemen, the civil rights organization in my hometown, the sororities, the fraternities, and the people of the faith-based community, no one has said and took a look at what's going on in West Tennessee healthcare. Now, these hospitals are making mega bucks on people of color. And when you look at the nearly 6,000 employees with a black man as CEO, and I watched them, they're patting them on the back and they're grinning and going on, and we're so proud of you and we're so glad of you. Yes, I'm proud of the brother too. I'm not a hater. But this West Tennessee healthcare, when I checked into it, the majority of people of color are in food service and housekeeping. They have the best job, the most prestigious and best paying salaries. And we have a brother at the end. And we're not dialoguing. We have not met with him and talked to him about it. Ladies and gentlemen, I went, as I said, to the First Tennessee Bank, which is one of my banks. And I walked in, and I didn't see but one person that looked like me. The rest of them are lily white. And we still grinning and kissing butt. Our kids are graduating. We're so busy being at graduation, taking photos of Pee Wee, Pookie, and Shanika. And we haven't stopped to say, wait a minute. When my camera quit clicking, where will my daughter and my son be employed? Where will they be working? I can tell you where we're going to find them. Join me. I'll take a little trip and take you down memory lane. Popeye, Burger King, McDonald's, Dodge Chicken. Do I need to keep going? But when you go to the bank, you go to the stock market, when you go to the healthcare profession, when you go to the courthouse, when you go wherever people are hired, you will not find a lot of us in key position. Are you saying that we don't have them in the intelligence to do it? Sure we do. But we're never going to be able to get the jobs until we as a people come together and say what Professor Merriweather say. Enough is enough. We deserve better than this. We spend trillions of dollars, but at the same time, nothing comes back to us. Our dollars in our community in less than 10 hours are gone. Other nationality money stays in their community. We're too busy allowing Mr. Charlie to use our dollars to employ their children. And our children are being locked up, and now they're making profit off of our children in prison. It's incarceration over education. They're willing to build prison, but they're not willing to build schools. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not a sport fan, but I was noticing the game last night with the Warriors and I believe the Cavaliers. I think I got that right. And I was looking at all of those people in the stadium. And I look at my hometown and in your hometown, our schools are being run down and allowed to decay. And we're not saying anything. And then when you ask them, they say, we don't have the fund. Well, the first thing, like in my hometown, in your hometown, we need to lock up the people who have taken the money that should have went to fixing up our school, and it went into their pockets in their communities. And I hear nowhere, did you hear that superintendent so-and-so? Do you hear the director of maintenance? Have you heard of a board member so-and-so? They're going to prison. We allow too much to go on, ladies and gentlemen, in our communities, and we don't say nothing. We're too busy kissing butt and grinning and laughing and shucking and jiving. But ladies and gentlemen, I looked at that crowd and I said, we could build new schools all across this country if at the Lakers game and the Warriors game, if everyone would be asked just to contribute $1. There's thousands of people and millions of people who attend, go to the arena to listen to watch different sports games. But imagine that at the I don't know about sport, I better stay away from that. But at all the sport events, if when people come into the stadium and we had a little box to set aside to contribute $1 to public education, we'll be able to hire the best and the most qualified teachers. Every month and year, buildings will be built for public education, to hire, to build in those communities, and we wouldn't have a problem with buildings. We have 27 schools in my hometown.